Hey guys, so this is going to be more of a serious type of video today. Basically, this is kind of in direct follow-up to the GoFundMe that I posted several days ago about how I need some dental implant surgery pretty badly. This is going to be talking about my story and experience having dentures because that is the reason that I need the dental implant surgery. Long story short, basically, when you have all your teeth pulled, your jaw loses a lot of the support that it used to have, and because of that, your bone starts to shrink. And for someone very young like me, having your jawbone start to shrink is pretty bad. It can cause me a lot of pain because my dentures will continue to fit improperly, and that will cause me pain, and I will always have to go in and get them adjusted to fix the pain. And not only that, but it will greatly affect my appearance. I will look, at least my mouth and the bottom part of my jaw will look as if I'm 30, 40, 50 years older than I am, and it's definitely not something that would be good to have with me for the rest of my life at this point. The dental implant surgery will basically add that support back in and stop my bone from shrinking, or at least very, very greatly slow it down and greatly slow down that aging process from happening. So anyway, I wanted to focus this video mostly on my experience with getting dentures and what it was like having them at first. So I guess I'll start with why I had to get the dentures at such a young age of only age 18. So basically, I had a condition where my tooth enamel was quite weak. Now, for a lot of people with similar conditions, they can get by fine, but the problem is you really need to start using certain toothpastes and mouthwashes and have a very pretty specific diet in order to combat it. And that's things that we never really did with me as a kid and as a teenager. I just had a normal diet, used normal toothpaste and mouthwash whenever I used it, and because of that, my teeth basically began to deteriorate quite badly. The appearance of my teeth had become very bad by age 17. I mean, it was getting there already, 15, 16, but by 17 is when I really started to become hyper self-conscious about it. And I just remember one day I was trying on something at a store. I just remember this very specifically because it was such a horrible moment. And up until then, I'd almost not let myself look at my teeth in the mirror. But for whatever reason, at this moment, I just forced myself to. And it was just, it was awful. I've never felt a more nightmarish feeling. Like it was the end of the world when I looked at my teeth in the mirror because I knew that there wasn't anything I could do to fix them. And I was only 17 at the time, and I just thought that the only way out was going to be, well, I'm sure you can imagine. I began to hide my teeth even more than I already did. I changed the way I talked completely so that I would show little to no teeth. And you probably still notice that on me now. Even when I learned to talk again, it's the way my mouth, I know I look weird when I talk, whatever. That's because I got so used to hiding my teeth when I talked. So that's why I have the weird, like, Sylvester Stallone thing going on. Another thing is when I, would laugh or smile, I would do my best to, go like that, or when I laugh, like, like not even that much, not even show that much. And, it was just horrible. I used to get these very horrible aches, and it would turn out that'd be because I was in need of root canals, and, the aches were so bad that the entire side of my face would feel like it's on fire for hours. And eventually I was hiding it from my parents for a while because I wanted to pretend there wasn't a problem. I wanted to pretend it would all go away and I'd be fine. I mean, I did end up being fine, but of course, at that point, I had no idea dentures were even a real option. But eventually, I told my parents about the pain, all the pain I had eating. I told them everything about how I'd hide smiling and laughing and how I hated myself and how I was suicidal because of it, and they finally took me into the dentist, and that was kind of one of the second worst experiences I've ever had. Just having my old family dentist kind of look at my teeth after I hadn't been there in about a year, in that year where most of the deterioration had really happened because it was kind of a snowball effect once that first layer of enamel sort of gets, deteriorated. It was horrible for him too. I mean, just seeing me like that. And he was like, your only option at this point, if you want to fix something here, is really to get full dentures, to have everything pulled. At this time I was 18. Um, and I remember going home and just crying. I just couldn't imagine at such an age having dentures. And this is part of the reason why I'm making this video, is I went to YouTube and I typed in dentures at a young age. And I found quite a few videos of people, no one quite as young as me at the time, but quite a few people in their early 20s or even late 20s is still pretty young to have dentures. And quite a few people talking about how they are all right, how they're happy with their decision. And that eventually led to me being able to make the decision myself and realizing it wasn't so bad and that I could get through it and that it would be so worth it to have them. And that's kind of part of the reason I'm making this video, not only to explain my situation to any of my already current viewers or to people who saw my GoFundMe and want to understand a little more. I wanted to do it for anybody who may be in a similar situation to me and maybe in the same spot I was, crying and looking desperately, hoping that everything's going to be okay. And I want that to, I want to help someone that way. I want people to know if you're a young age, even if you're even younger than 18, you're going to be okay if you have to get them. In fact, if you're like me and if you're like all the other people I watched, you're going to be way happier because your teeth are going to look amazing. No one's going to know that they're false. You're going to be able to eat a lot more than you could before. Even though there are some things that are a little bit harder to eat with dentures, for the most part, you can eat everything. And chances are, if you need dentures, there's a lot of stuff you could not eat before because it was too chewy or too hard because your teeth were not strong enough to eat that stuff anymore. I can assure you that if it is presented to you as an option, I highly suggest you seriously consider it. I'm not saying it's going to be the best option for everyone because I don't know every possible situation, but I'm going to say that it's probably a very good option, and don't let your age get in the way of you making the decision to get them, because trust me, once again, no one's going to know you have them, and even if they do, no one's going to judge you for it. The few people that have found out, obviously now a lot of people have found out because I'm telling my whole YouTube channel, but the people that knew me in real life, my family, friends, or whatever, they thought it was almost interesting in a way, but then it just never really got brought up again. Nobody cares. In a relationship, my boyfriend doesn't care. I had to tell him about it very early on to explain why I was having trouble, why I chew slowly sometimes, for instance, and I basically told him very early on because I didn't want it to be something I brought on later. So that's another thing too, if you're worried about relationships or anything, I can tell you I've been in 2 relationships where I told both people early on about my dentures, and neither cared, neither judged me for it, and neither had any idea before I told them. So that's another thing, is people, they're not going to be able to tell when you're, kissing or whatever, when you talk or smile or laugh or eat. People are only going to know when you tell them, and even then, even when they do know, it's not like they're going to change their opinions on you. So with that out of the way, I want to talk about what it was like actually getting them, what it was like living the first few days, first few weeks, and even actually the first month or two for me. Basically, there's a few different ways you can go about it. They can pull all your teeth at once, and then you have to wait several weeks for your gums to recover, and then you go in and get your dentures put in. I personally didn't want to do that because I did not want to live several weeks without teeth, eating only things you can eat without teeth, and not going out in public for fear of having people look at me weird. And I'm sure a lot of people are like that. So the way I had it was I had all my teeth pulled in like 3 or 4 different appointments. So they'd pull like one section, then another section, then another section, then another section. The final section, of course, being the day that I finally got my dentures put in. So I could kind of slowly eat less and less, but I could still eat some, and I could also go out in public. Because like I said, at this point I was hiding how I laughed and smiled anyway, which isn't a good thing. But because I was doing that, nobody would notice that I was missing like half my teeth. So anyway, the day that I got them, I went in, they pulled the last of my teeth, and the worst part about getting that many teeth pulled is that they have to give you numbing shots almost everywhere, and the worst part, I'll warn you, if you're getting something similar to this, is the top shot, the top numbing shot, because it feels like it's going all the way up your nose, and you see white for a second. It's kind of horrible. But after the numbing and stuff, you don't feel anything. It's not uncomfortable. It's kind of weird. I guess you do feel something in that you feel them. You do know it's getting pulled. You feel that happening, but it doesn't hurt or anything like that, or even tickle, really. So yeah, they went in, they pulled the last of my teeth, and then they put the dentures in. And you know how normally they put in gauze when they pull a tooth? they simply use the dentures as the gauze, as the blood blockage, essentially. So that first day, I gotta admit, it was kind of horrible. As the numbness wore off, I started to get very sore. And by the way, this is gonna get slightly gross, just so you know, in case if you're very, very afraid of anything gross at all. Just warning you, but it shouldn't be that bad. I would have, blood pool up from below the dentures, and it would get in the front of my dentures, and it was kind of horrible and annoying. I'd have to constantly wash out my mouth. The thing is, I wasn't allowed to take out the dentures for the first like 2 days because they needed to keep everything sealed, and I would have trouble putting them back in because everything would swell up under them basically. So I had to keep them in for the first day or two, I believe. But then after that, things slowly improved. The two biggest challenges after getting the dentures, of course, are learning to talk and to eat again. Specifically, the eating shouldn't be too difficult. For me, it was, but that's because I overthought it a lot. Basically, as long as you eat the way you always did, it should work. Basically, I was having trouble, using my tongue to eat with the dentures, but of course you always use your tongue to eat. You maybe just don't think about it that much. Use your tongue to move the food around in your mouth to where it needs to be. And I had a lot of trouble relearning how to do that, but for most people, they learn how to eat solid food again just within the first few days. Now, talking is another thing that's a big problem for some people, and for me it was. It took me a long time to learn how to say S's. I still have slight trouble with it. I still have like this slight lisp that I didn't really have before. It may not be that noticeable, but that's because I really go out of my way to enunciate sometimes now. Um, but yeah, it took me about a month and a half to get rid of like this extreme lisp that I had and get it down to what it is now. And I sounded kind of funny for the first little while that I had my dentures. I have some video recordings of it because I was still doing my YouTube at the time, and I didn't want to not use my voice at all till it was perfect. So I have some recordings of that. I can probably play a small bit now.
Okay, I'm gonna go up and then go like 100 blocks or 50 blocks and then dig straight down.
Anyway, regardless, the thing that I was most worried about, I kind of addressed it earlier, is that people would judge me for being young and having them. But honestly, after I got them, I was so happy after I was finally able to get through the process of recovery and everything because I could smile and laugh again, and I could eat so much more than I used to be able to eat. I didn't have to worry about hiding my teeth all the time. And I was just so happy about it, and I felt like this massive weight had been lifted off of me. And so, once again, to anybody watching out there who, you just found out you need to get this done or that it's a very good idea for you to get it done, and you're young and you're worried about it, or even if you're not that young but you're worried about it, you're worried about being judged, you're worried about the process, I can tell you that it's not super easy to get through it, but it's not super hard either. You can do it, and like I said, it is so, so worth it for several reasons. And anyway, like I said, this was kind of a follow-up to my GoFundMe. I'm going to mention this one more time. In case anybody wants to contribute at all, this is for the dental implant surgery. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I helped somebody out there, or at least hopefully this was interesting to some people out there. And yeah, I would also like to mention I'm now age 21, so I've now been living with these dentures for almost 3 years, about 2.5 years at this point. And it's been all right. It's been worth it. And yeah, you guys, anybody going through anything similar, you can get through it.